Corporate Design Group is an interior design firm in Roseville, California. We've been providing comprehensive interior design services for commercial, healthcare, senior living, and residential clients since 1991. The client came to me with concerns about what the lobby wasn't accomplishing for them, and they wanted to make sure that the lobby represented very well what the rest of the building had to offer. Your first impression of the building happens in this lobby, and we wanted to actually enhance the lobby by having it be a center of activity as opposed to just a space that you walk through. We have a process, and we laid it out for the client to step by step evaluate the building, make some preliminary recommendations. It's a collaborative process. It very much involves both the design team and the client. CDG was very fortunate to work with a client who embraced art in public places. They already owned an original Stolowit. We have a beautiful art hallway. We wanted a piece in the center of the lobby that was the focal point that drew everyone's attention, had the ability to be experienced from all sides, and yet we had some challenges because we needed to not block the guard. We didn't want to block the visibility to the restaurant and bar. So all of those criteria became a part of what we were planning for. At that point, we budgeted for a major art piece in the building. The sculpture was one piece of a full remodel of this lobby. The project coordination was handled brilliantly by Kelly Gilbert, a senior associate designer in our office. One of the really special features of the building has to do with the amount of glass that surrounds the rotunda. People view and walk by this space on a regular basis, whether they enter the building or not. Because the building ownership had world-class art in the building, we saw the unique opportunity to extend that vision into the lobby, have something that could be really enjoyed by the tenant base as well as the public at large. The artist selection process included a national call to artists. From that call, we selected 4 artists that we presented to the board. From that, Alan Osborne was unanimously selected based on the maquette that he prepared for the project. The maquette was maybe 14 or 16 inches. I really had so much fun seeing that piece become this one.
For the 1201K, I went over to the building and looked at the site. This is a site-specific piece, so it's very tall ceilings. It's 3 stories ceiling, and it has that rotunda and the semi-circle of glass. So I needed to come up with something that wasn't just static in the center of that floor, but actually would envelop people to come and look or walk around the piece. So as you come into it, you are drawn to the piece. It's very lineal as you at first appearance, but as you start to move around, it becomes more massive and it changes. And so when I built the model for 1201K, there's a lot of little nuances that happen in the surface of the wax, which I try to keep as we increase it in scale. Originally, the piece was only going to be between 12 to 15 feet, but the more I spent time in the space and considering that, with that space being 33 feet, 3 stories, would diminish that, would dwarf that piece. So the 1201K owners decided that it's okay to go ahead and scale it up. Actually, they prefer it to have it larger. So instead of being 15 feet at maximum, it's 21 feet now. Patina are corrosives, like ferric nitrate or cupric nitrate, which would be copper that's been dissolved in nitric acid, and it's granular, and then you add water to it, and then you heat the bronze up. And by heating the bronze up, it drives the ambient moisture out of the metal, and so when you start to spray these corrosives on, it etches the copper. And with the cupric nitrate, you get these greens, and then ferric nitrate, you get reds. They work in conjunction with each other. The chemicals respond to the copper, and then they respond to themselves, and so you have this kind of control. It's like basically watercoloring with heat. Well, you know, there was a lot of colors going on inside that building. but they're natural colors, and they're natural to the patina. The sort of the reds, the rusty reds that I have on there, and the greens, which are not in the building, but they help to articulate the other colors, and they work well. And the whites and the yellows and so on are all basically, they're colors that are in the environment. So there's a lot of little subtleties that you can work with your patina to really enhance the form, and that's something I really love to do. We were going to try to install it over a month period of time, but it just didn't work that way for me. That's why the installation took like 2 or 3 days at the final, towards the end, because it had that spontaneity that I like to work with. The construction was a challenge, actually. Trying to figure out how to get it in was a problem, and kind of interfere with the creative process at times, because you didn't really know how it was going to work. So it was just a leap of faith. We just figured it out as we went along. Again, I was building like a ship in a bottle, because I couldn't get on the floor of the forklift, I couldn't move the whole piece in, so I never had the sculpture assembled until it was, we assembled it in place. And usually the pieces in the foundry would be in its entirety, and we'd know exactly what it looked like, and we'd know the problems, and we just either lift it, cut it in one place or something, lift it, set it with a forklift, and would be done. But this we had to really do, everything was done by hand. We used hand lifts, which to lift things up, and just sort of boom cranes that we just designed ourselves and made work with scaffolding and so on. When we're working, the time just goes by. You don't even notice it. You're not tired. You're just contemplating or just considering just finishing the piece, and it really went well. It's its own uniqueness, and it has its own quality and its own life to it, and not just a replication of something else. It is what it is, and I'm really pleased with how it looks. I didn't really know until that final blade form was up, the biggest blade was in place, and its positioning was proper, and so on. So I didn't know whether it was really working. Once that blade was up, and you saw how we'd move them in, and we were able to adjust, the curve a little bit and the angle. But once we had that, then I knew that it was right. And then working the patina now and just kind of going back over it is just sort of a pleasure of finishing it up. But a three-dimensional form demands more attention. It's there, it's in the space, it's taking up space, and you have to address it. And then there's just, with bronze, it's just a beautiful material. And the surface quality that you can get with the natural patinas are just really beautiful.
For me, working with Alan was so exciting, and I just think that the energy he put into the design of the sculpture and the implementation of it, it's just heart and soul Alan. The Ascending sculpture was really the piece that completed our design, and the collaborative energy from the group really made the end result the best it could be.
For me, everything's changing all the way through the process, every part of it. And it's not done until you walk away from it.
What Alan was able to accomplish was so much grander than the original vision. Everything that he did just enhanced the original vision that we had. So how to change a space and have it end up feeling like a completely new space is a real challenge in an existing structure. But it's what we do every day.